The disturbing case of John Cannan, Britain's most infamous stalker in the shadowy corridors of true crime history, few names evoke the same chilling unease as John Cannan. To the British public, he became a figure of fascination and fear, a handsome, charming man whose charisma masked a deeply predatory nature. To those who knew his victims, he was something far worse, a relentless stalker who destroyed lives without remorse. Born in 1954 in Birmingham, England, John Cannan's early life offered little indication of the darkness that would one day consume him. Raised in a working-class household, Cannan grew up in an environment where discipline was strict but not abusive. His father served in the military before working in various trades, and his mother stayed at home to raise the family. Outwardly, they appeared an ordinary British family of the post-war years. Yet those who knew John as a boy noticed a streak of arrogance. At school, Cannan was an average student but a natural manipulator. He could be charming and persuasive when he wanted something, but his temper flared when challenged. Teachers recalled that he seemed to enjoy bending rules and finding ways to get others to do what he wanted. By his teenage years, his interests had shifted toward more destructive outlets. Petty theft, reckless driving, and short tempers became defining traits. He developed an early interest in controlling situations and people. After leaving school, Cannan drifted between jobs, unable to hold steady employment for long. His relationships with women were marked by possessiveness and jealousy, and several ex-girlfriends would later recall being followed or intimidated by him after breakups. What might have seemed at first like passionate pursuit soon revealed itself as harassment. By the late 1970s, Cannan had committed a series of minor offenses that escalated into more serious crimes. Burglaries, car thefts, and eventually violent assaults became part of his criminal repertoire. He served time in prison for robbery and sexual offenses, during which psychologists noted his manipulative tendencies and lack of remorse. But prison did little to reform him. Instead, it seemed to refine his methods. Upon his release in the early 1980s, Cannan's behavior grew more calculated. He was no longer content with opportunistic crimes. Instead, he began targeting women in a more deliberate fashion. His approach followed a disturbing pattern. He would identify a woman, learn her routines, and slowly insert himself into her life. If charm failed, coercion and violence followed. One of the most haunting chapters of Cannan's story is his suspected involvement in the disappearance of 25-year-old estate agent Suzy Lamplugh. On July 28, 1986, Suzy left her office in Fulham, London, to meet a client known only as Mr. Kipper, for a property viewing. She never returned. Despite an extensive search, her body was never found. Witnesses reported seeing a man matching Cannan's description in the area, and investigators later discovered that he had been released from prison just days before. Though there was no definitive evidence to charge him with Suzy's murder, the circumstantial links were strong. His known methods, using false identities, approaching women alone, and exercising control through intimidation, matched the Mr. Kipper profile. Police publicly stated that they believed Cannan was responsible, but without a body or direct forensic evidence, the case remained unresolved. If the Lamplugh disappearance was a case of suspicion without conviction, the murder of Shirley Banks in 1987 left no such doubts. Shirley, a 29-year-old newlywed from Bristol, vanished after a shopping trip on October 8. Her car was found abandoned, and her body was discovered weeks later in the Quantock Hills. The cause of death was blunt force trauma, and evidence tied directly to Cannan included her belongings found in his possession and forensic links to his flat. The prosecution painted a chilling picture. Cannan had abducted Shirley from a parking garage, held her captive, and eventually killed her. His demeanor during the trial was cold and detached, with little sign of remorse. Witnesses recounted previous incidents where he had harassed or threatened women, further establishing his pattern of predatory behavior. The jury found him guilty of murder, rape, and abduction, and the judge recommended that he never be released. Psychologists who studied Cannan described him as a textbook psychopath. He was intelligent, articulate, and capable of great charm, but utterly devoid of empathy. He derived satisfaction from dominating others and was adept at identifying vulnerabilities to exploit. His physical attractiveness and confident demeanor allowed him to gain the trust of strangers, a trust he weaponized. Even from prison, Cannan's name continued to surface in connection with other cold cases. Detectives revisited unsolved crimes from the 1980s that bore similarities to his methods. In each, the common thread was stalking, control, and the eventual escalation to violence. The Lamplugh case remained at the forefront, with investigators making public appeals for information as recently as the 2000s. Media coverage of Cannan's crimes was extensive. Newspapers dubbed him the Killer Suitor and Mr. Kipper, and documentaries dissected his life and possible involvement in unsolved cases. For the families of his victims, this coverage was bittersweet. It kept the public engaged, but it also forced them to relive the trauma. As the years passed, Cannan's health declined, but his danger was never underestimated. Parole boards consistently rejected his applications, citing the ongoing risk he posed to women. The police position remained clear: John Cannan was a man capable of extreme violence, and freeing him would be unacceptable. Today, in his late 60s, John Cannan remains incarcerated. He continues to deny involvement in Suzy Lamplug's disappearance, but detectives maintain that he holds the key to solving the mystery. Without a confession or the discovery of her remains, closure for Suzy's family remains elusive. The case of John Cannan is a grim reminder that predators can exist behind the most charming of facades. His story is one of manipulation, control, and calculated cruelty, a blend of charisma and menace that made him one of Britain's most feared criminals. For many, the fear he inspired has never truly faded. The shadow of Mr. Kipper still lingers, a testament to the damage one man's obsession can inflict. For those who still seek justice, the hope is that the truth about Suzy Lamplugh will one day be uncovered. Until then, John Cannan will remain exactly where he belongs, behind bars, serving out the life sentence that ensures he will never again walk free among the public.